Now on the Georgia Vote, Democrats debate.
And I am ready to go and fight for all of our communities.
I'm building that coalition big enough of Democrats, independents, and disgusted Republicans.
I'm tested, I'm proven, and I'm ready to serve the people of this great state.
3 candidates for governor all make their case in our studio. This morning, analysis from our panel on how this race is unfolding with the primary only a month away.
Plus, Governor Brian Kemp on the road with his hand-picked candidate for Senate, Derek Dooley, while candidates continue to raise eye-popping sums of money. All right now on the Georgia Vote.
From the 11 Alive studios, this is the Georgia Vote with Faith Jesse and Zach Merchant.
Well, good Sunday morning. The Georgia primary election is just 30 days away. If you are unsure about who to support, you've still got time, but not much to make up your mind.
That's right. And here at 11 Alive, Democratic candidates for governor made their pitch to you, the voter. 11 Alive hosted a debate Wednesday night at our studio. Zach and I moderated this debate, and we invited 3 Democrats who each met the agreed upon participation criteria for fundraising and nonpartisan polling results. Former Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms, former Lieutenant Governor Jeff Duncan, and former State Labor Commissioner Mike Thurman attended this debate.
Coming up in just about 30 seconds, we are going to show you some of the highlights from that debate. But first, let's introduce our panel of political insiders joining us today. Stephen Lawson is a Republican communications strategist who has served as a senior communications advisor to House Speaker John Burns. He's also worked for Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones and Congressman Mike Collins. Also with us today, Democratic strategist Fred Hicks, the founder and president of the Hicks Evaluation Group, which has worked with hundreds of political campaigns for nearly 20 years. And also with us today, Donnell Suggs, the editor-in-chief at the Atlanta Voice. He's written for, among others, the Atlanta Business Chronicle, Atlanta Magazine, and ESPN's The Undefeated. Welcome in, everybody. We're going to start with this, affordability. It's a big topic in 2026. You might have heard us talking about it. And we asked the candidates to weigh in as well, asking them what they would do to keep costs down.
One of the big ideas I've come up with is I want to utilize part of the $17 billion rainy day fund that we have in this state. I want to take 10% of that and put it in a jumpstart fund. $1.7 billion worth of discretionary budget for the governor, to be able to put that and wrap it around the axle of poverty. One of the reasons why I'm standing here as a proud Democrat is because I got tired of watching Republicans demonize poverty.
Suspending the gas tax is one way that we can address the issue as it relates to gas costs in this state. Also, joining other states who've already sued the Trump administration on tariffs that are unfairly impacting small businesses in the state. Also, the Port of Savannah is being directly impacted because of the erratic tariffs that Trump has instituted.
I will focus on something that I've already done, legislation that I passed as a member of the Georgia House of Representatives. Over the time that this legislation has been in force, we have generated over $300 million in tax relief for senior citizens and working families. As you file your taxes today, if you look at the Georgia tax bill, you will find if you're a senior citizen, if you're a low-income working family, you're going to get a tax break, and it's a tax break that I put in law and a bill that I authored.
Back with our panel, Stephen, I want to bring you in on this as a Republican. What message did you get from that?
I didn't get a lot. I mean, I thought a couple of the answers were really interesting. Keisha Lance Bottoms talked about suspending the gas tax. The General Assembly and the governor have done that multiple times. I thought the best answer was probably from Thurmond in terms of his record and talking about giving back money. Jeff Duncan talked about the rainy day fund. To be seen if how much of that money will still be there when he's governor. So not a lot of great answers, but certainly an opportunity for them to continue to sharpen their message.
Fred, do you agree with that?
So, somewhat. So I do agree that CEO Thurman had a good answer. I think that Mayor Bottoms talking about something that has already been instituted doesn't mean that it should not continue, because one of the things that voters are concerned about is what will happen if a Democrat's in charge. Well, there's something good that Republicans have done. There's no reason why a Democrat can continue to do that. Jeff Duncan's doing what he needs to do.
Donnell?
Our readers just want to see things done, and they want to see something change in their pocketbook. So the talk is good, but until they see something physically change on their bills, all I hear from people is, that's all well and good, but got to see it.
As they say, you can walk the walk, but you got to do what?
Talk the talk.
Or wait, no, talk the talk.
You can talk it.
You got to walk it. There you go.
Is that one of the challenges for candidates who are on the campaign trail? Because voters, they want to say, hey, what are you actually going to do? But if you're still campaigning, you're not in the office, you can't do that yet.
But they hear promises all the time. Talk is cheap, so they want to see a little bit more than just promises.
Is it cheaper than gas?
No, it can't be.
That was a good question. Let's go to another question here. Another topic that we asked the candidates about was about a law that was signed into Georgia law last year, known as the Riley-Gaines Act of 2025. Broadly speaking, it bans transgender athletes from participating in girls' and women's sports in our state. We asked all the candidates on the stage if they were governor at the time the legislature passed that bill, whether they would have signed it or vetoed it. Here are their answers.
I don't support the government making decisions about who should compete in athletics. I believe that decision should be left to respective athletic associations.
So you would have vetoed it?
Yes.
All right, thank you for your answer, Mr. Thurman. The same question to you. If that bill came across your desk and you were governor, would you sign it or veto it?
I would have vetoed it because it's really just a red herring that Republicans have used to generate votes on Election Day. Listen, we should never allow the power of the state to be used to bully innocent children, to create chaos in the lives of families who are dealing with very personal issues. Yes, I would veto it, but more than that, I would expose the hypocrisy of it and focus people back on the key issues.
As governor, I would have vetoed the bill because at the end of the day, this bill was not about making a difference. It was about simply picking a fight and proving a point. I think at the end of the day, this conversation needs to be had in small circles, in communities, and not sitting at the legislature trying to worry about their next bail piece in a campaign.
So, Fred, this was a topic that all three of the Democratic candidates on the debate stage agreed upon. How do you think the primary electorate is going to receive this, and then how do you think their answers are going to be received by a general election electorate coming up in November?
So I think this is going to be pretty much a non-starter in the primary. I do think that Jeff Duncan and CEO Thurman had good answers for it. But in the general election, rather, this is going to be potentially yet another wedge issue. And I would say this, no offense, Stephen, but when Republicans' policies fail, they resort to wedge issues like this to try to divert attention away from the real matters at hand.
Stephen, you want to respond to that?
Yeah, I think this is a huge mistake and missed opportunity from all three of these Democrats. I think whichever one of these Democrats emerges, you will see their answer in a general election ad. We know from polling that this is consistently at least a 75-25 issue. And I do think that part of their answers were good until they said, but I would still veto it. There's a way and a nuance to say that, hey, I don't think this is a widespread issue if I'm a Democrat, but I still would have signed the bill because we still should not have biological males playing in girls' sports.
Now, Donnell, Mr. Thurman said that this was a red herring. From your reporting, does it seem that way? Do voters believe that?
From all of the reader emails and the one-on-ones I get and the people that come in, this is a non-issue in real everyday people's lives, that boys are playing and taking advantage of girls in sports. It's beyond a red herring. It's non-existent. It's not.
And that's what you're hearing on the ground.
That's what I'm hearing from voters.
Well, we want to move on to, thank you so much for that, Donnell. We want to move on to another topic. We asked the candidates about data centers and whether they would support or oppose a temporary moratorium on their development in our state. Take a listen.
We get asked this question just about every stop that we go to around data centers, and different communities have different answers. Some want to embrace them because it's a huge economic tailwind for their schools, for their streets, for their civic setups and infrastructure. Some are vehemently against them. So I think the answer lies in allowing the state legislature, the state government, to force those decisions, to let locals make those decisions.
I think that we need to take a pause to assess where we are, to determine the difference between fact and fiction, and then proceed. I think it's irresponsible for us as a state to continue on this path.
When you say pause, just to be clear, are you saying you would support a moratorium on development?
I would support a moratorium.
What I would do, number one, is respect the sovereignty and the power of local governments, particularly in cities and counties, especially as it relates to land use planning. However, there is a role for the governor and the state. This is where I stand on it. Number one, the billionaires who are profiting from the data centers should help and must bear the cost and the burden for building them and for building infrastructure. Number two, we have to protect our natural resources, particularly groundwater. And number three, the owners must invest in building in Georgia the most AI proficient workforce in the world.
So three very interesting answers. Mr. Thurman's answer stood out to me as I was at that desk because it came off as more moderate, Fred, maybe potentially speaking towards the middle, even though, you know, he's going after a little bit of the blue for the primary. Do you agree with that?
So I do agree that's what he was trying to do with that, but I think he missed the mark with it with respect to what you're trying to do to win the election. Now, it was a nuanced, solid policy answer respecting local rights and privileges and stuff like that, but where the electorate is right now, Democrats and I think even Republicans, people don't want data centers right now. They want to pause. They're really concerned about their electric bill, utility bill. They're concerned about potential health hazards and things like that related to it. So I give Mayor Bottoms the win on that point with that particular question.
And this was a topic where we saw differentiation between the three candidates there. We've got 30 seconds left. Let's go down the line. Stephen, your thoughts on those answers?
Yeah, I would disagree a little bit. I do think it should be a local issue and local control. I think local governments know best. I think there are local communities that really want these data centers to bring down their property tax revenue, which we know has the ability to do that. There's also proponents that say that in the long run, these data centers will help, and this investment will help lower costs. So I think that there's a lot of different answers, but I do think it should be a local issue.
And Donnell, I'm sure in your reporting, this is an issue you have heard lots about, just like we have.
I'm partially agreeing with Stephen. Local government should deal with it, but what I'm hearing from people is those data centers don't provide jobs, so there's no interest. It's just a big lot that's being filled with something, which is great, but it's construction and it's more things in your way, in your view, or what have you, but it doesn't provide jobs. So folks are more or less like,
how does it impact me?
right, it's not a kitchen table issue for us. It doesn't impact us.
Thank you all so much for that. Well, we're going to take a quick break. We'll see you all on the other side of the commercial.
Well, voters have plenty of decisions to make coming up very soon with dozens of races on the primary ballot. And that includes the Republican primary in the United States Senate race. Derek Dooley, one of the candidates there, bills himself as a political outsider as he challenges current U.S. Congressman Buddy Carter and Mike Collins for the right to face Democratic incumbent Senator Jon Ossoff in November. Dooley has the support of Governor Brian Kemp. The two are in the midst of a tour across Georgia. We caught up with them Thursday in Dawsonville, and Doug Richards asked Dooley if having the governor's support should make him the front runner.
Look, it's an honor to have the support of somebody who's been such a great leader of our state. His leadership has inspired me. But look, as we all know, the most important endorsement is from the people of Georgia. And so that's why we're out here every day spreading our message and saying we're the best candidate to go beat Jon Ossoff.
Let's take a look now at how this Senate race shapes up by the numbers. And by the numbers, we mean money. And there's a lot of it here. We have first quarter fundraising totals in for Senator Ossoff and the three prominent GOP challengers. According to Federal Election Commission filings, Senator Ossoff raised a little more than $14 million in the first quarter of 2026. He currently has almost $32 million in the bank. On the Republican side, Mike Collins had the biggest haul in the first quarter, raising a little more than $1 million. Buddy Carter and Derek Dooley each raised less than $1 million in the period between January 1st and March 31st.
All right, show me the money. Back with the panel, guys, looking at these new numbers, what first comes to mind? Stephen, let's start with the Republican in the room.
Yeah, I think it's what we've been seeing for the last year is that Jon Ossoff has a tremendous advantage because this has been and continues to be a messy Republican primary. I think it's disappointing, but it is where we're at. I think that right now, I think most of the public polling continues to show Mike Collins in the lead, and I think it's really a fight for second place. I do wonder if the governor's support in the last couple weeks of the campaign could boost Derek Dooley.
We're seeing those dollar numbers coming up with him.
Yeah, so we'll see if the window's closing, I think, quickly, and that race is likely headed to a runoff, and we'll see if Republicans can muster a challenge to Jon Ossoff, who by all accounts has the upper hand right now.
Mm-hmm.
Is there, Stephen, I want to stay with you for a moment, and then we'll go to Fred, but is there any growing concern among Republicans that a year ago, a lot of people in your party were talking about Senator Ossoff was a prime target to flip his seat. Now the Republican Party is going through a pretty bruising primary battle.
Yeah, look, I think Jon Ossoff still has the advantage. I still think he is vulnerable at the end of the day because of some of the votes that he has taken. But it takes a unified, strong approach from Republicans to mount that. We don't have that right now. Maybe we will in 2 or 3 months, but right now we don't.
Fred? From Democrats, how are you feeling about all this? I suspect you feel like this is shaping up to be about exactly how you could have dreamed of it.
Oh, absolutely. You know, Senator Ossoff understands that he has to fight, and he is fighting for it, for the position, doing everything he can, and the voters, I think, are recognizing that. One of the things that I think everyone who deals with this office believes, again, whichever side of the aisle, is that he has amazing constituent services and that he is very accessible. And I think that's what we're seeing that translate into the money. I think that's going to translate into the votes. He's in a good position.
And of course, after we find out whoever the Republican nominee will be for the Senate race, those dollars are going to come in hot. But how much does money really make a difference when it comes to getting that momentum past the primaries come November?
I think it's a reflection of popularity, unfortunately. John Ossoff is extremely popular, and it hasn't waned at all. I'm agreeing with Fred. He's just really, really popular because he's always within reach. He doesn't give you any distance. He's always out. I was out this weekend. He was always out. So people kind of understand that. They're voting for someone they can see. They see often. And that money shows that. That's a great reflection of how popular you are.
Faith makes a really good point, though, too, because whoever the Republican nominee is in this race, as soon as there is a nominee, I would suspect everyone would agree the party is going to generally coalesce around that nominee. The money is going to start flowing in. And so, Fred, I do want to ask you, you pointed to some of the pros in favor of Senator Ossoff. For Democrats' perspective, what do you worry about his potential vulnerabilities once the GOP nominee does emerge?
So the biggest concern I think the Democrats have right now is not John Ossoff individually, but what the rest of our ticket looks like and how that might impact him. And so there's a lot of concern about that and making sure that you have strong candidates who have a good, solid message and that he is not negatively impacted or drawn down by that. And so let's not forget on the Republican side, with Derek Dooley having Brian Kemp, that means he also has the leadership committee money that's at his disposal that the governor can use to help him out and balance that field.
And speaking of the governor, we talked a lot about the Democratic candidates for governor. Let's talk about where the real money is. And it seems like it's this Republican race for governor. Why do you sigh? There's a lot of money there.
There is a lot of money.
There's a lot of money there.
We talk about the lopsided stuff in the Senate numbers, but man, 50-1 over, or 70-1 over.
It's a lot of money, Stephen. But realistically, I mean, and we saw civility on the debate stage, a lot different than what we are seeing playing out on our TV screens, at least between two candidates right now. Where are you right now? We have about 4 weeks until the primary. How is this money being spent? Is it being spent well? And who comes out on top?
Yeah, I think that there are some good ads on both sides in the primary. There's a lot of negative ads, and I've been on record saying I think both of the leading candidates, and Lieutenant Governor and Rick Jackson, need to focus on their record, what they believe in, what they value, and speak to the voters in a positive way. I think that is turning off some voters in our primary, but at the end of the day, they have the resources to be able to do that. And if you're Rick Jackson, he has the resources to be able to go negative and positive on himself. I still think he's slightly in the lead. I do think that race is headed to a runoff. And we've talked about on this show, can Brad Raffensperger or Chris Carr somehow sneak up the middle? I think if there were one of them, they potentially could, but because there are two of them fighting for that same vote and not enough money, I don't think that they will be able to.
And you talk about money, Zach, you look at Rick Jackson, I mean, that is literally, he put money out there, and now he's in the polls. So money definitely speaks here.
And Donnell, I would suspect when you talk to voters, when you talk to folks in your reporting, they see these commercials. It's on their mind now as we get into this closing stretch coming up to the primary.
Commercials, mailers, you
name it. They're
I just
out
got an email about someone asking me if it was Brad Raffensperger in a commercial with a shotgun. I said, that was him. She said, are you sure that was him? I'm like, he's got to do what he's got to do. It's a brand new ad. And they were confused about that because it doesn't seem like his mannerism. And yet now he's in a commercial with a shotgun. So the ads are being seen. They're making an impact one way or the other.
Maybe that's his way of trying to stick out of the pack?
Be a tough guy?
But you would think, because they already have such name recognition. I mean, Attorney General Chris Carr, Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, and then Rick Jackson coming out of left field in February with all this money.
Right.
Fred, last 10 seconds to you.
Well, I hope they keep spinning and beating up each other and clear the pathway for a successful Democratic campaign in November.
They'll have plenty for the general.
The voters are going to have the last word, as they always do. Guys, thank you very much. Much more of the Georgia Vote coming up right after this.
Welcome back. Well, Vice President J.D. Vance's visit to Athens almost didn't happen. He said threats forced key speaker Erica Kirk to back out of the Turning Point USA event.
The event moved forward, drawing a crowd of students and strong reactions. 11 Alive's Angelina Salcido was in Athens for it Tuesday night.
Vice President J.D. Vance taking the stage in Athens.
It's pretty good to be in SEC country, I have to say. It's great to be here.
Opening with a warning.
About 2 hours ago, as you know, Andrew, I was a little worried that we were going to have to cancel the event.
He tells the crowd threats against Erica Kirk kept her from attending and forced last-minute security decisions before quickly turning his focus to the next generation of voters.
And I know that politics is hard, and I know that it's challenging, and I know that things aren't always easy.
His message focused on young voters and their role in politics. But as questions open up, the conversation turned.
Hey, random dude screaming, I told you I'd respond to your point. I just want to respond to this question first.
At times heated.
The president.
On issues like the war in Gaza, the exchange quickly turning tense.
You see more humanitarian aid coming into Gaza than it has any time in the past 5 years.
The vice president pushing back.
Because we have taken that situation seriously.
He also addressed ongoing negotiations overseas, saying the U.S. is working towards a peace deal, but it's not there yet.
The reason why the deal is not yet done is because the president, he really wants a deal where Iran doesn't have a nuclear weapon.
From immigration and job competition to housing costs and global conflicts, the questions coming directly from the crowd.
What is the game plan to win the midterms?
How is the Trump administration trying to fix that?
How do you think the conservative movement can be united?
Don't give up on this process. Get more involved in this process and demand more from people like me.
And Erica Kirk posted on X that same night, saying in part, I was so looking forward to tonight's event, but after all our family has been through, I take my security team's recommendations extremely seriously. Stay with us. The Georgia Vote continues after this.
Okay, so the primary election is a little more than 4 weeks away, and so now is the perfect time to say it. You cannot have the Georgia Vote without who? You, the Georgia voter. So this week, our Voice of the Voter is right here in Atlanta. We hear from Dr. Terrence Lester.
Hey, my name is Dr. Terrence Lester. I am a native of Atlanta, Georgia. I have the honor and privilege of leading a nonprofit organization called Love Beyond Walls, where we advocate on behalf of those who are experiencing poverty and homelessness. I've done this work for over a decade, mobilizing tens of thousands of volunteers to actually provide resources for these vulnerable communities. I love my family. I am really passionate about fishing and reading and all of those things. And I would say politically and socially, one of the things that rises to the top for me is a recent bill that was passed in 2024, which makes it harder for people who are actually experiencing homelessness to access the political process or to vote, because no longer can you use community shelters and things like that as addresses to validate that you're a citizen. And so that's me.
And our thanks to him for his take.
And our thanks to all of you for watching us today. We hope to see you again next week at 11 for another edition of the Georgia Vote.